Good morning. Welcome back. It's Friday Coffee Talks, episode number 62. It has been a great week. I appreciate all of you bearing with me as we were out for spring break last week. We took the kids to Legoland. We had a blast. I hope you did as well. I hope you got to enjoy some time off from work, relax a little bit. I was telling my wife, this is the first vacation we've taken since we've had kids that we've gone on some super fun trips. Don't get me wrong. But this is the first vacation that we've had where it really felt like vacation. We got home the other night and I felt like I was just happy to have gone on vacation. I really, really enjoyed myself. So it was great. Part of it's because the kids are growing up a little bit. They can kind of interact a little more. But part of it was because, honestly, Legoland and Peppa Pig World that we went to in Orlando were really, at this point in our lives, with the kids the ages they are, it was just their speed. It was big enough to have fun, get some really fun roller coasters and rides and things like that, but not too big to the point where we felt like we barely scratched the surface or we were rushing to try to get all the things done. It was really good. Peppa Pig World, especially. If your kids are into Peppa, it's definitely targeted at a more younger audience in Orlando, but check out Peppa Pig World. They did it right. It was a ton of fun. So thank you for bearing with me as I took a week off, but this week, I've got a great one for you. I have an interview with the man, the myth, the legend. I was so excited to interview him that I totally flubbed it. Normally, when I introduce somebody, I kind of list off a bunch of things that they do. I was so excited to interview him that I didn't even do it. I just totally tripped over myself. So let's get right into it. Please enjoy my conversation with my dad, Tom Volpe. All right, we're here back for Friday Coffee Talks episode number 62. I am not in my basement. I'm not even at my house. In fact, this is my parents' house, and this is my dad. We're here in my parents' basement. I grew up my room like right over there. And I'm joined today by an entrepreneur, a leader. There's too many things. He's my dad, Tom Volpe.
I wear all the hats.
And it's Friday Coffee Talks, but we're drinking beer today. So, Dad, thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so Dad grew up in New York, came down here at 15, built some houses, superintendent for a builder, and started your own company 30 years ago. 32, sorry, excuse me.
1990.
So take me through kind of the backstory. What got you through... Tell me the life story.
My dad was always handy, always doing projects at our houses. In fact, I figured out after a couple of houses that he had like a 7-year rule.
Okay.
It wasn't anything fixed. It just happened to be 7 years. He would finish all the projects that he wanted to do in the house that we were in. And when he was out of projects to do, it was time to move. And I think that was just coincidental, but he was handy. He taught me to be handy, and I liked it. And so after my first year away at college, I took a summer job as a grunt with a construction company. Started out moving cinder blocks and sweeping out houses and all that, and worked my way up to running neighborhoods and building the houses from breaking ground all the way through closing or through walkthrough. And in 1990, after 13 years with these guys, they decided they didn't need me anymore. So we parted ways. It was amicable.
Yeah.
And I was ready to get out. And so I wanted to stay in construction. Housing, there was a little bit of a slump, and that was part of the reason why they let me go. And it wasn't a good time to get into building houses. So I was like, well, I want to do something that I like. I'd been doing some fence work on the side, along with a multitude of other things. And I said, well, I'm either going to do remodeling or fencing.
Okay.
And I like being outside, and I like that, fences, you get in, you get out. So we went fencing, and it's been good.
32 years later.
Yeah. We've had our highs and our lows.
It's been, I mean, it's going to happen over 30 years.
Yeah.
It's my lifetime. I think that's how my brain works. It's funny that you say you were influenced by your dad because you obviously influenced me. The growing up working with you, I mean, there's pictures from when I was a kid of me standing in a hole as dad's digging to build our like treehouse or like playground fort in the backyard, and building stuff growing up, and then working for you as I grew up. I think that's had a big impact on how my brain works. Why I became an engineer is because we spent so much time together building stuff, and growing up around the fence company and all that stuff. So it's funny that you say that.
Yeah.
My dad has a famous line, or series of lines. Like, what are you about to say? Where he says, "Let me show you a trick I learned in the blank, French Foreign Legion, Iraqi Navy, Swiss, whatever it is." And I feel like you've got a trick for everything.
I've hit on most of them, I think. Never been in any of them.
Right.
I have said I learned this in the Boy Scouts, and I did.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
That one was true.
We did spend a lot of time in the Boy Scouts
Yeah,
too.
that was fun. Had some good times.
So, as an entrepreneur yourself, you've been one of the biggest supporters of us as we started our business over the last year or so. Where do you think that like entrepreneurial business spirit comes from to get you to where you are?
That's a good question. I think being a firstborn made me always want to do things my way. And being in business for myself, that's been the greatest thing. Is and my way is not always the best way. I've learned a lot of from a lot of mistakes that way, but I like calling the shots, and I like I've learned a lot. I've learned to listen to other people, but I just like the ability to
make it happen your way.
That's right.
I get that.
And I've often thought and I thought about this a lot from 2008 to 2012, 13, when our business was on the verge of going under because of the Great Recession. I can't go to work for somebody else. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just couldn't even imagine having to work for somebody at this point.
Yeah.
Because I've done what I want to do for so long.
The people talk now about returning to office and working from home and the kind of balance of who's doing which. I feel the same way. Kind of, I've worked from home before the pandemic, so that wasn't a big change for me. But I can't imagine moving to a job and transitioning to something for me that feels that big. And for you, I assume it's the same way of like having a boss. Yeah.
Yeah, having to do things somebody else's way. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
So I mentioned that I worked for you a lot growing up. I've kind of run the gamut with Fox Fence Company. It started out driving around on weekends and putting magnets on mailboxes with you.
Right.
To in high school, I was driving around and kind of pitching Fox Fence to new neighborhoods and developments. To working in the yard, driving the forklift, which is always my favorite, pulling
Mine
fence
too.
packages and stuff. What do you think? Why did you feel like it was so important for you to bring your family into the business as I was growing up?
I think it builds a good work ethic. That you're not just gonna sit at home and buy things online. I mean that's way before buying things online. But I thought it was important that you understood that if you wanted the things that you want in life, you had to go out and work for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it meant grabbing a shovel and and sweating.
Yeah. I did plenty of that. Although I will say you never would let me go out with the fence crews. I always worked in the yard.
They were a bad influence.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. I loved it though. I'd have to say, looking at my career now in sales, I definitely got my start and my like initial perspective on sales from you, from working with you. And I think a lot of what you passed to me was, there were a couple of things. One was attention to detail and doing things the right way. And the second one was being prepared for any situation you can be in. And I have two examples. The first one, I had just mentioned, doing the little things the right way. I remember when we would go stick magnets on people's mailboxes. And we would drive the wrong way down the road and hang out the window to put or no, I guess it wasn't. I was in the passenger side. So anyways, we'd put the things on the mailbox and you'd put them on the front of the mailbox. And you'd always get on to me. I got lazy. I was, little at that point. And you're like, I'm just trying to get through it, just putting the magnets out. But you'd make me go back and straighten it, center it, put it right where it needs to go.
Put the tape measure on it. It's got to be right. Put a level.
Well, you're giving your first impression of your business to people that way, and that was how you taught me to make sure I was doing it right. In the grand scheme of things, totally insignificant, but to you, it's important to get your image across the right way.
Yeah, and I get on the guys about putting fence signs. We've got the 6x12 fence signs, and that's our biggest advertising medium. And they'll put them on. I've seen them put them on upside down. Really?
Oh,
but they put them on crooked, or and I'm just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, seems like it should be a straightforward
upside
thing.
Down.
Upside down. Yeah, getting in a hurry is what that's called. But the other thing is is being prepared, and so that was one thing, not just at Fox Fence, but in Boy Scouts too. I remember when I would go and sell Boy Scout popcorn around the neighborhood. One of the things you always made me do before I walked out the door was like, okay, what are you going to say to people? Like, what's the pitch? What's it look like? You can't just show up and say, here's an order form. You got to be prepared and know what you're talking about. And I think that's one of the biggest things that stuck with me, especially now, is I'm not shy to say I don't know, but I don't like doing it. And so I want to be as prepared as I can to be able to answer questions, even if it's not technically my job or my thing or whatever. I want to be ready to have that discussion with people.
Right.
So, yeah, that was my first taste of sales was working with my dad and selling the fence company to people.
And one of my recollections that I think about fondly was when you were a kid. You were probably 7 or 8 years old, and I would take you on a sales call every once in a while, and you'd roll the wheel. At first, you were just there, and then I'd let you roll the wheel. I'd make sure that it was zeroed, and you'd roll the wheel, and I'd take the measurements. As you got older. But when you were just a kid, we would finish measuring, and I'd be standing there giving the sales pitch and telling all the details, and you'd be running around the house with the wheel, and you'd come by every couple of minutes, go 700 feet, Dad, and it's and it was like the greatest thing. It was like I could have brought a puppy. Couldn't have been any better if I'd brought a puppy to the sale, because the people just thought that was adorable, and you circle the house 10 times while I was talking to them, and 12,000 feet, Dad.
If I remember correctly, I was always trying to max out the numbers on the wheel. I always wanted to get to all 9s.
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty far off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So let's talk about family stuff for a minute. So Fox Fence Company is the company. For any of you who have ever seen Fox stuff around my house, it's everywhere. Why is that?
Well,
I mean, I know the answer, but tell
Volpe is an Italian name that translates to fox.
Pretty simple.
And it's and I, there's people that work for us, and it was just recently that I was talking to somebody, and they said, "How'd you get the name Fox?" And I was like, "Really? You've been working for me for how long? You don't know this? You don't know this one? It's on the application."
Yeah. I feel like there should be a thing on the wall in the office, like when you come in, of like the history.
I like that idea. Yeah.
You can have that one for free.
Okay, thanks. I'll have to look into that.
So as a business owner who's done it all, I mean, you worked the company, you and Mom, by yourself for a long time, before you even had any employees, before you were big enough to go, and you've gotten to kind of set the tone. You have control. You're the boss. You do things your way. How do you think you kind of developed your methodology, your value system as a business, as a salesman as all the roles that you do?
Like I said, we made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. Mostly personnel. I mean, it's just, I was desperate for people, and I'd hire somebody knowing that, I'm going to give this guy a shot, even though he doesn't seem like the right guy or the right fit. And, I'd wind up with a, wrecked truck or somebody getting hurt or, and somebody screwing up a job real bad. It's all about hiring the right people and being able to delegate. It's been a really slow process for me to let go of a lot of what I do. And I guess probably the biggest thing for us was when we hired a salesman, and that was probably 7 or 8 years in. Before that I was getting the crews. I did installation by myself, not by myself, but I was in there, swinging a hammer, nail guns, whatever, for probably the first 3 years. And I told you, I started out, I was 165 pounds when I started the business. About a year and a half in, I had several people going, "Have you lost weight?" I don't know. I haven't had a chance to. I'm so busy. I don't have time to step on the scales. So 165. When I finally thought about it and stepped on the scales, 142.
Ooh.
I was lean and mean. And just so you know, I'm about 190 right now. I need to get back out with the crews. But the question.
Your methodology, your values, how you
methodology. And so early on, I was doing all the sales calls, and that's there just wasn't time to eat. I was burning a lot of calories, but I was doing all the sales calls. I was figuring jobs, and I was installing them, and picking up materials and everything else. My dad helped me early on, before we had enough work to hire full-time people. He was working for IBM. He said, "Look, I got all the time off that I want to take. So if you have a day, if you have a job and you can't find anybody to work with, you give me a call. And so I'll just take the day off and help you." So awesome. He and I were the dream team. We could build a fence.
Yeah. I imagine.
Yeah. But then we hired salesmen, and that was a learning process. Right. The first salesman I had was James Lobley. He was experienced in sales, so that was great. Learned a lot from him, and he was a good salesman. And since then we've had a couple that we've had to train. Yeah. That was a couple of the people that I wish I hadn't hired. It's just there was one guy that just wanted to do it his way, and it was just like we just finally had to go. Yeah, this isn't working.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is the quality. We run subcontractors. Early on, it was hourly guys, and we, as an owner, you want them to get finished fast. But these guys working by the hour, they weren't in any hurry. If it started raining, they just we'll just go sit over here until the rain quits, whatever. Now the guys are motivated to get in and out of a job, but they understand that I want the quality to be there. If they rush and don't do something right, they're going back on their time.
Sure. And
they're going to take care of it. And I always think about it like, would your grandmother be happy with this workmanship?
Yeah.
If you did this at her house,
right? Or
your mom,
Yeah. I think speaking from a sales perspective, obviously I'm selling software versus fences, quite a big difference, but I think the perspective is the same, where, there's plenty of the stereotypical used car salesmen that are just in it for the commission. They're trying to get a unit out the door and they don't really care. But for me, at least, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm looking to build relationships with customers that will want to buy from me later on. This is not the only thing they're ever going to buy from me.
Right.
And people switch jobs, people switch roles, people move in and out of stuff, and you want to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody years down the line and have them pick up rather than kind of using through them, kind of being scummy, whatever, and then they're never going to take your call again.
Right. It's funny you say that because it reminds me that when I got into the fence business, the one drawback that I saw was once you put a fence in somebody's backyard, how many more fences are they going to need? But over the years, it's been surprising. Well, when you have 32 years, we have people that, we put a fence in their first home,
Yep.
Little 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, whatever. They outgrow that home. They move to another one. They call us. We put a fence there, and so on. We've had people move out of state and come back 5 years later and look us up and go, "You did our fence, 10 years ago. We want you to do it again." We're doing for fences for the children of people that we did fences for.
Yeah.
So it's important to us because we now understand that we not only from a business standpoint to do it right, but there's referrals and then repeat business.
Yeah.
Amazingly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the you mentioned losing weight, and it reminds me of some of the old pictures of us when I was a kid working with you, out there in the yard, tool belt, no shirt, like lots more hair than now, the mustache. This is a serious look there.
Yeah, well, I didn't think much of the look.
Oh, the short shorts.
Comfort.
I forgot the short shorts.
It was just comfort back then.
So talking about that, you've had an influence on my life, obviously in a multitude of ways. You're my dad, but I think one of the biggest comes with this right here, with my beard and my facial hair superstitions, because you've got quite a few of your own. Tell the story of how the family beard came to be.
The family beard. I think we heard that it was an Italian tradition.
Okay.
That when your wife's pregnant, you grow your beard until she delivers, and then you shave it off. And
or in my case, you don't shave it at all.
But I shaved my beard off in the hospital room at Northside.
Yeah.
At least once. The other superstition that's not really my superstition.
Yep.
I got this from a buddy of mine in college. Said his grandfather had a mustache his whole life, and in his 40s or something, he decided, I've had this mustache, ever since I could grow one. I'm gonna cut it off, and he broke his leg the next day. So my buddy, he had that superstition that he didn't shave off his mustache, and I think I shaved my mustache off for a Halloween party.
Yep. Pretty recently. I mean, relatively, I guess.
Okay, that's probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to grow it right back because it was. I didn't break my leg or anything, but it was just weird.
Well, that my whole life, I've literally had never seen you without a mustache ever, my entire life. And you cut it off. I think you were Popeye for Halloween.
That's
that
who
year.
it was, yeah.
You shaved it to be Popeye, and I came down here. It was down here. I was like, "Who is that guy? What in the world?" It's so weird.
Yeah.
But I've picked that one up too. I haven't been clean shaven since I was like 17 or 18, and I don't think I ever will be, just because I might break my leg. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, it's Friday Coffee Talks. This is the name of the show. We're not drinking coffee today, but
It's not Friday.
the last question I it's not Friday. The last question I always end with is your coffee order. So I know you're not you're typically like a K-cup in the morning kind of out the door guy.
Yeah.
But if you're walking into a coffee shop, let's say, what's the coffee order?
Black
Black
with
coffee.
just enough cream to cool it off.
Okay.
I don't do Starbucks. I think I've been in Starbucks 3 times because I met somebody there but just not big on the
Like
expensive
fancy.
name brands. I like a good cup of coffee, but
Yeah.
good restaurants seem to have the best coffee.
That reminds me of another story about. Do you remember the story I'm going to tell about coffee?
Yes.
So we were in the office at your last like business location. You just moved recently, and I was, I don't know, maybe 10, maybe younger than that,
Maybe
a little younger than that.
Yeah.
And there was always coffee. I mean, it's a construction office, so there's always coffee in and out. Like right when you first come in, it was right inside the door, and there's this pot of coffee. And I liked the taste of the creamer, like French vanilla. I'll never forget it, French vanilla creamer. And so I used to say like I like to drink coffee, but it was mostly just creamer in a cup. And so there was one day I was working, and I don't remember if I snuck it or whatever, but I had so much coffee.
I had made myself a cup of coffee, and you said, "Can I have a sip?" And I said, "Yeah, you can have a sip." And then I got busy doing something, and I came back, and the coffee was gone. You drank the whole cup.
At like 8.
and I remember you had the worst headache. You were crying.
I still remember that. Like laying on the couch at home that night with just the most miserable headache. I'd had so much caffeine for an 8-year-old that it just totally messed me up. I was miserable. I'm shocked that I like coffee as much as I do now after that.
I had my teeth whitened recently, and they said, it opens the pores of your teeth, and you should avoid anything that would stain a white T-shirt. Mm-hmm. So she said, I know if you're like me, you like your coffee. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So for 3 days, I quit drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And I had this headache. and it was day 3 when I was finally making my cup of coffee on day 3. I was like, I know what that headache is. Advil didn't touch it. It just was just like this dull, and I was like, I just don't get headaches. What's going on? And I finally realized it was caffeine withdrawal. And I don't even drink that much, really.
Yeah, but I guess your body gets used to the routine of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, Dad, thank you. This has been fun. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Us. Yeah. And thank you for joining us. This has been Friday Coffee Talks, episode 62. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers.
Bye.